I can't say like I'm worldly in terms of like, because I know people that have traveled all around the world. I haven't been anywhere. I've been all around America. You know what I'm saying? So maybe I'm countryly or nationally. Maybe I'm nationally. That's it right there. I'm nationally, right? For people that don't know, worldly is to be somebody that's well traveled. They've been to a bunch of different countries and all that. Like, but I've been around the states. I've been around America. You know, I've been from the ghetto to ghetto, slum to slum. You know, and I've been in some of the richest, you know, from some of the richest, wealthiest places in America to some of the most dangerous, impoverished places in America. And this is the craziest thing about this, right? And this is one of the things that baffles me, right? In the money world, right? In the money world, I know because I worked there. I worked on Wall Street before, right? In the money world, it's very important, right? Brokers, um, bankers, investors, day traders, like learning the language of finance, like bar none, they don't play no games with that. They learn that language. In the world of finance, people that want to understand money, they learn that language, right? Before I got a job in New York with Jim ERA Realty, I used to work for them. I had to go study and take the test. Listen, I've been on my own, right? Trying to take care of myself and some form of little ones since before I was double digits, right? You know, whether it was my little sister, my little brother, you know, because my mom's was or whether it was me as a teenage parent, you know what I'm saying, trying to provide for my babies and myself. Like it was, so I have you know, a lot of life experience, right? So, but I had to go get my real estate license, you know, and so in the real estate space, it's a whole nother language you got to learn. Like this shit is a whole language you got to learn in the real estate space, right? And people are serious about that. They aggressive. They, you know, in the neighborhood, right? You got real estate, you got finance. That's the upper crust. The upper crust of American society. They make sure that they know real estate language. It's a language. Whole terminology just within English is still its own language because John Q. Public doesn't know it. So you can say it's a terminology, but once you go past 20, 30 words, you've left the context of terminology because terminology makes it seem like it's 10, 15 words that you need to learn and then you Gucci. No. It's a whole thick textbook like this we needed to learn for the real estate test. In fact, the three toughest tests in America are usually ranked law, medicine, and real estate in some version. You know, sometimes they rank the medical tests as the toughest. Sometimes it's the law, whatever the case may be. Usually, real estate's number three. But I've passed two of those three tests. Right, I've passed two of those three tests. Right. Um, so I know it's huge vocabularies that is really the thing that you have to learn and study for those. Now, if we go to the hood, we go to the neighborhood, we go to the street, right? Not knowing the street language can get you killed. If you're an everyday working person, depending on where you're from, you know certain things by eye. You know certain things by eye. You know when to, you know what places to avoid, where not to be, what times not to be there, things like that. But now, if you're a person that's in those places, oh, learning the lingo is absolutely crucial. You got to know the language. You got to know the dress code, right? You got to know the dress code because at a job, not knowing the dress code to get you fired. In the streets, not knowing the dress code can get you killed, right? So what I'm saying is, then if you go into the scholarly place, right? If you go into the scholarship world, right? You got people studying languages. Oh, I'm gonna study. You know, I'm into French culture, so I'm gonna study French language. I'm into ancient Egypt, so I'm gonna study ancient Egyptian culture, right? Um, I got me a Spanish girlfriend, or you know, so many Spanish people in America now. You know, the city I live in. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought it was over. Listen, let me tell you, in the Bronx, growing up in the Bronx, so many Puerto Ricans, so many Dominicans. If you didn't like, you had to know. Like it wasn't taught in school yet, but you had to know Spanish, like working Spanish. Just work, you know, just a few little terms of endearment, you know, regulars, you know, how you doing? My name is, what's your name? You know, and then you had to know the cuss words, right? Then you had to know commerce, right? Cuánto es, right? How much is this? Right? Then you had to know some numbers so they when you ask how much is it, they tell you the price. You some basics. So you need to know how you doing, whoop, the cuss words, you know, how much is this, right? I thought that was over when I left New York, right? Because I moved to Georgia, and in Georgia, it's no Puerto Ricans, no Dominicans. Well, maybe now it is, but at the time when I moved there, it wasn't, right? I moved there in the early 2000s, right? But the Mexicans, I moved into Doraville, bruh. I tried to brush up that Spanish, and when I spoke to Mexicans with the broken Spanish that I knew from the Bronx, the Mexicans were offended and disrespected. They're like, "What is that? That is that is." I ain't gonna say what how they described the language, but it was like that's not Spanish. I was like, "What you mean? I can understand what you're saying, and you can understand what I'm saying. So clearly, it's Spanish." He's like, "No, that's not Spanish. That's Ebonics Spanish." I was like, "I ain't trying to pass no test. I ain't trying to write no gone with the wind shit. I just want you to understand me, and I want to understand you." You know what I'm saying? So, but I learned in Doraville the lesson that you know, that's not how that goes. Right? That's not how that goes. Um, but my point is, all of these different areas in life, for one reason or another, and most of us, we live in different places. Meaning, so if you live in the Bronx, you may need to know the street lingo. You may also need to know some Spanish. If you are a teacher, you may also need to know some of that. Or maybe you're a mechanic, so you need to know the mechanic language, right? Or maybe all of these different spaces in our lives, we prioritize learning language, except for our body language. I, I just cannot understand that. The place that we are the most vulnerable, you go to the hospital, you don't know what the doctors are talking about. They talking about you. They talking about the survival of your mama, your husband, your wife, your daughter. You don't know what they talking about. I remember when I first started doing like traveling consultations, and I used to go with people into hospitals and all that. The biggest thing was like I was like a translator. I'm sitting there listening to the doctors talking, and then I got to re-explain it to the person right there. I'm like, well, no, no, no. This is what they're saying. They only saying that you got inflammation in this spot, or you got to do this, or and they're like, oh, that's what that means. I'm like, yo, we need to learn this language. This is the most important language. And as the most important language, it's crazy, but it's sitting right in front of us, and there's no priority on it. There's no priority on it, but you're all going to see the doctor. You're all going to see the doctor at some point. And you're going to have those times where the doctor tells you, yo, you're in great condition, and you're going to leave the hospital feeling amazing. And then there's going to be those other times when the doctor tells you something like, and you know it's going downhill too. You could feel the energy. When the doctor check out your papers, and then before they talk to you, they go talk to somebody else. Hey, listen, when the doctor reads your stuff, your diagnosis, the test and the results and all that, they start doing shit like this. They start scratching, nurse, can you go get me doctor such and such? Now they want to talk to other doctors, and you standing, you like, so what's no, so what's going on, doc, what's happening? What that say on, what that mean on there? They're like, oh, just a second. No, everything is fine. Just hold on one second. Let me step out in the hallway. I'm gonna go talk to such and such and such, and I got a specialist down the hallway. I'm gonna confer with my specialist, and then we're gonna get right back to you. You don't even realize it, but you're so scared. You're producing so much fear hormones and fight or flight that you just making everything, whatever's already wrong, you making it 1,000 times worse because of the ignorance, fear, and superstition. Like I literally swore oath to fight ignorance, fear, and superstition amongst the people. And that starts with learning the language. Yo, you know what's funny? I probably do, because I got books that's older than me. Or I got a couple of books that's older than me. You know what I'm saying? I've lost some really expensive books. Marriages, man. But yeah, I've lost some really expensive books. But you know what I'm saying? That was primarily to Crystal, who is the mother of almost all of my children. So anything I lost during that relationship, in my mind, the way I resolve it, and I'm not, like I'm not bitter over it, is I just see it as the cost of me to have my children. You know what I'm saying? Like everything in life has a cost. So whatever I lost in terms of that relationship was the cost of me bringing these babies into the world. So but sometimes I think back to stuff that, but I still have some old books, but I had some really old books like from Strands in New York. Man, back in the 90s, I was living in Strands. Like, I spent a lot of time in Strands bookstore.
We getting seed money. We need seed money. That's that seed money. We need that.
Introduction. These books are...
Introduction? Yeah, but introduction to what? What is this? You're just introductioning up to people. All right, so this is the first book of the Generational Health series, right? This is the first book. It's called what? What's the title of this book?
Atoms of Self-Development.
Atoms of Self-Development. Atoms of Self-Development. Come on, you can't be shy. You gotta say it like you when. Okay, look, just think that nobody's looking. Just come on, just say it out loud, lady. All right, so now we ready for you to bust out the introduction. Now we know what you introducing us to. Now you can,
Introduction. These books are to be read as a family to create this.
Don't rush, hold up. You gotta slow it down. Relax. Come on, look. Yep, in your nose, out your mouth. Come on. Come on, lady. All right, now that you're relaxed, everybody, you got your vibe.
These books are to be read as a family to create discussions, group learning, group sharing. This is how we build generational health, learning and teaching as a family. Chemistry.
Hold up. You can't listen. You can't just fly through it, okay? It's going to be a lot of people in the YouTube world, like 100 people. They all going to be watching, right? You can't just go fast. You got to relax. So do you want to say peace or anything to the people out there? Tell them to go get the books.
Go get my dad's books. They're pretty good.